Gemma's Codeforces rating went from 110 to 2150 in 12 months. That's mathematically impossible for a normal training run, unless you cheat. And Google did. Here is exactly what they pulled off. This is how a 31 billion parameter open-weight model just learned to outcode the top 3,000 humans on Earth. 3 mechanisms. 1 missing ingredient. Gemma 327 billion scored 110. Gemma 431 billion scored 2150. For billion extra parameters. A 1900-point yellow jump. Something does not add up. More parameters alone did not do this. So what did? Start with what 2150 actually buys you. 02. Decoding the number. Codeforces has a tier ladder. Below 1200 you are a newbie. That's where Gemma 3 lived. It could not solve problems a motivated teenager gets in week 2. Gemma 4 sits at 2150. That's master tier. Top few thousand competitive programmers alive. Same company. Same architecture family. 12 months between releases. One model can barely write a for loop. The other writes solutions top ICPC finalists would respect. Imagine a kid who failed a spelling bee in April. By next April, they are writing the dictionary. Biologically impossible. But in machine learning, there is a loophole. The loophole has a name, and Google has been using it since Gemma 1. 03. The real engine. It's called distillation. You take a giant model, Gemini 3 in this case, and you make it solve millions of problems. Then you train a smaller model to imitate not just the answers, but the full probability distribution over every token. The small model absorbs the big model's intuition. Gemini 3 Deep Think runs at the top. It generates long reasoning traces on Codeforces-style problems. Every token it chose, plus every token it almost chose, becomes training signal. Gemma 4 trains on those traces until it thinks like Gemini 3 in a fraction of the size. And Gemini 3 Deep Think's own Codeforces rating? 3455. Legendary Grandmaster territory. Top 50 humans on the planet. Gemma 4 is what is left after you compress that down 100-fold. Distillation explains about 90% of the jump. Thinking mode explains the rest. 04. The token trick. Gemma 4 can think. Not the marketing version of thinking. The actual kind. You open a system prompt with a special think token, and the model spins tokens reasoning out loud before it writes the answer you see. Without thinking, you ask for a solution, you get a guess. With thinking, the model burns maybe 800 tokens planning, checking edge cases, and catching its own bugs. Same model, different answer. You are paying more inference compute to get more correctness. Not a new model, a longer monologue. 05. What's actually open? Here is what Google did not release. The Gemini 3 teacher. The reasoning traces. The reward model used during reinforcement learning. The synthetic code dataset. The weights are Apache 2.0. The recipe behind them is locked in a vault in Mountain View. Which is fine, honestly. You still get a 31 billion parameter model that runs on a gaming GPU and solves problems your senior engineer can't. For free. With commercial rights. That was not possible in February. So here's the full story. Gemma 4 is distilled from Gemini 3. It burns extra tokens thinking before answering. The weights are open. The recipe is not. The Codeforces jump is not magic. It is compression plus computed inference. If you want to try it, the Hugging Face repo link is in the description. Start with the E4B variant. It runs on a phone. Next up, I am covering the 26 billion Mo. 128 experts, most of them asleep. How that even works. Subscribe, and it will be waiting.